Hi, this is guitarist Denis, and I'm in my home studio. And this time around, we're gonna upgrade a speaker in a Fender Super Champ X2. Okay, and really, how this came about was I went to a music store which is sadly closing. And I've been going there for years and years. In fact, I used to teach there at one point. So I was in there, and they're kind of they've got little odds and ends, all over the place. And one of the people there who works there said, "Hey, Denis, we have some speakers back here. You may want to take a look at them." So I thought, oh, yeah, okay. And so I kind of went rummaging around, and I'll be darned if I didn't run across a speaker I found very interesting. And it was used. It was in a box, and so they'd let me have it, real inexpensively. We're talking, I think, about maybe $30 or something like that. And for what it is, that's a really, really good deal. And I have it here. Just a cardboard box. Wasn't sure what it was. Well, take a look at this. And it says right there, 10-inch Weber speaker, vintage series, Ferromax. And it's the right ohms. It's 8 ohm. Here, let's take it out of the box here. Kind of stuck in this cardboard, but hold on. Boy, you want to talk about an unboxing? I'm having a hard time getting it out of the speaker. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, no wonder. There we go. Finally. And here it is. It's actually quite heavy. Quite surprised. Look at that. Looks very nice. And he said he had pulled it out of some amp that, I don't know. He didn't really go into detail. Yeah. 50 watt vintage series Weber Ferromax 10-inch 8 ohm speaker. And here it is. Take a look at that. Cool. Look at the magnet on that thing. Right? I mean, that's huge. For a little 10-inch speaker, that is. And quite heavy, too. So that should probably translate into a pretty darn good speaker. I have a Fender Super Champ X2 with a stock speaker. And I'm sorry, but the stock speaker does not have, a big magnet like this. I mean, it's kind of smaller. And the stock speaker, is okay. I mean, I like the sound, but at louder volumes, it kind of, can't really handle that, especially the low end, and it kind of farts out and stuff. So we'll see if this makes a difference. Now, what's really interesting about this, the Weber speaker And new, I think they're like between $100 and $150. I'm guessing, but I assume. Maybe for a 10-inch a little less, I don't know. Not that much matters. Now this is Weber speaker 1279. Alright, that's the model number, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a 10 f150-T. So 10 f150-T, 8 ohm, 50 watt. And date 3/23/2012. Okay, so that's a pretty, pretty old speaker, used speaker. However, I bet it's pretty good. And what's really cool is Weber speakers are made in my state. Right? Kokomo. So we'll see here. Yeah. Now it does look, though, that maybe it's been repaired or something here, because there's a cut all along here. And I noticed, though, it's been resealed. So who knows if maybe that was factory sealed or what have you. I can see on the back here it's been kind of, glued back on or something a little bit. Well, but it seems fine. We'll see. We'll find out. So I'm going to install it and see, and maybe this was the reason why it was $30 or whatever. It may not really make a darn bit of difference, or it could be horrible and, get a whole bunch of distortion or something. I don't think so, because it doesn't seem to, be that bad at all, I think. Well, we'll find out. I'll tell you what, if it does work as intended, this could be really cool. So we shall find out. Now, real quick, if you want to hear what the original one sounds like before and after installing this speaker, we shall see. Okay, now here's the stock speaker. So we're going to install the speaker and see what happens. Okay, I've got the Weber installed in the X2, so let's take a listen to it. So it sounds fine. It's really, really nice. Definitely an improvement over the stock speaker. I found it's actually quite loud. In fact, it may even be louder than a Cannabis Rex speaker. And we'll do a comparison here shortly. Okay, and just to see how it handles the volume and things, we'll go ahead and turn up the amp a little more. 6. Alright, now part of this is the X2, you know, a little 15 watts. And I've got it turned up to 6, so I mean I can overdrive it just by, you know, hitting the strings real hard here. Just right, but even softly. So, it can definitely handle volume, nice low end, you know. Now, just in comparison, I'm going to play the same thing, except I have two X2s, one with the Cannabis Rex, and this one has the Weber in it, so I'm going to set it to the exact same settings. You know, now granted the room, you know, where it's located in the room will make a difference sound-wise. But it'll give you a pretty good idea anyway. So here's the Weber. That's on the neck pickup. I switch it to the bridge. Alright, now I'm going to switch it over to the Cannabis Rex. bridge. Okay, and now the two together. Now here's what I noticed right away. To get a balance between the two, I had to turn the one with the Weber down by 1 notch. In other words, instead of 4, the Weber is now on 3, and the one with the Cannabis Rex is on 4. Surprising, huh? I mean, you know, the Cannabis Rex has a real good, dB, sensitivity. Yet the Weber seems louder. And that's the thing, the Weber seems to be more in your face. Whereas the Cannabis Rex is a lot smoother sounding. Alright, and now the Weber. Both together. Okay, so there you go. There's comparison, and I'll tell you my thoughts on them. One, obviously, this was a really good deal, price-wise. Now, new, Cannabis Rex speakers about, I don't know, I think $89 or something like that. Whereas I saw used Weber speakers, right, the same model, the Weber speaker, going for, 89 to 120 for a used one. And that's a used price. So the Weber's more expensive, speaker-wise. Now, what I discovered is the Weber is louder. Now it could be, the positioning of the amp in the room and that kind of thing, too. But I do think it's louder. It's brighter than the Cannabis Rex, which is, to me, sounds more modern and is really, really smooth. Because it's tapering off the high end, and it's surprisingly not as loud, but it's a really nice, warm, almost dark sounding speaker. And the Weber, I think, is a little brighter, in a strange way. It's they're very, very similar, as far as the improvement to the amp goes. They're very similar. Very interesting. Here's just a distortion on the Weber, and I can hear the amp hiss here from the X2. So. do the same thing on the Cannabis Rex. Here's the Cannabis Rex, same thing. Okay, with the distortion, you can clearly hear the difference, I think. That, without a doubt, the Cannabis Rex is just a lot smoother of a speaker and darker than the Weber. And depending on, you know, the style of music you're playing and that kind of thing, you know, you could choose one or the other. I don't know. They're, in a way, they're very similar too, you know. So either one is good. I mean, they're, you know, and I can't say one's better than the other. The Weber definitely has some strong points, and it affects also the reverb and effects and things. I found the reverb to be much more pronounced than on the Cannabis Rex, you know. So it really depends. As far as breakup goes, you know, both can handle the X2 just fine, and both end up breaking up, you know, when you've got the volume clocked at, you know, 6 and above. You know, they're going to break up in a nice way, both of them. So that's not really an issue. And perceived volume, though a lot of it probably has to do with, you know, the placement in the room. They're in different places. But yeah, I think the Weber's a little louder, which is cool. So I would, you know, I mean, look, if this was a boxing match or something, I would call it a tie between the Cannabis Rex and the Weber. And unfortunately, you know, both are much better than the stock speaker, you know, without a doubt. So either one, you really can't go wrong. And I guess, you know, the Cannabis Rex is a real, dark and smooth speaker because it's taming those highs, as I said. And the Weber doesn't do that, but it can be warm as well. I mean, it's really interesting, you know, the differences there. I don't know, you know. That's the thing. I mean, if price is an issue, obviously the Cannabis Rex is the better deal because it, you know, new-wise anyway. You know, and with the Weber, you know, if you're buying them used, you don't know what condition they are. The other thing is, you know, in mine, the Cannabis Rex is fairly new and still in the process of breaking in. Whereas the Weber, you know, is from 2012. Is that? I think that's the right date. So obviously that's going to make a difference too. You know. I don't know. In a way, for me, for what I do, you know, I like the real soft sound of the Cannabis Rex a lot. You know. But that's also because, you know, I just put the Weber in. I'm not really used to that either. You know, it really, the Weber seems to take that little X2 and make it seem like a bigger amp, you know, because it's louder. Whereas the Cannabis Rex, you would think would be louder, but it's not, you know. It's very interesting. So they both have their pros and cons, you know. Boy, that's a tough one to decide, you know, which one, you know, I prefer. You know, definitely the volume makes a difference. You know. And again, you know, that could also be room placement and those kinds of things. So very interesting anyway. So if you run across either a Cannabis Rex or, you know, the Weber, they're both great speakers. I suppose you could decide just from listening. But as far as, you know, as buying them, you know, you wouldn't be unhappy with either. That's the thing. You know. And I can't say one is super better than the other. But I'm quite impressed with the Weber, I have to say. It may even have a little edge on the Cannabis Rex, but it depends what kind of sound you're going for, you know. If you're going for a real smooth and more modern sounding, I don't know how to describe that. When they say it's the Weber is a vintage speaker, it really is. And it does sound that way, whereas the Cannabis Rex sounds a little more modern, you know. I mean, if you had a little pedal, you know, you've seen those little pedals, and they have a switch and it's vintage or modern. That's kind of the difference between these two speakers. You know, the Weber sounds more vintage and the Cannabis Rex sounds more modern. Alright, I hope this has been helpful. You know. In any case, I'm very pleased with both, so There you go. And yeah, that Weber was a good deal for sure. And very nice speaker. Yeah, and you know, that's the X2s. I wanted them, you know, to be as loud as possible because they're such small amps. You know, and both speakers accomplish that. Though I think the Weber does a little better job in that department, surprisingly, you know. But that's the thing, you know, for clean sound, you know, regardless of what speaker you have in the X2, you know, there's a limitation of just what the amp puts out, you know, and when it starts to break up. So, and both speakers can handle that well, so it'll make that big a difference. Alright, see you next time. Bye.